Guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'll be showing you guys how to make this dress, this pencil dress with a puffy sleeve. So the first thing I did here is to cut out my fabric. So you see I have my front panel and my back panel. The back panel is bigger by 1.5 inch at the back here, at the center back. So how I determine the width of this fabric is, first you're going to cut your front panel. So first thing you're going to do is to fold your fabric into two, right? And then you're going to check your hip measurement divided by 4. Your hip or your bust, whichever one is the biggest part of your body, you're going to divide it by 4 and then add 1 inch to it. So mine is my hip of 48 divided by 4, that's 12, plus 1, that's 13. The 1 is the seam allowance, right? So that's why I added 1 inch to it. So that's why the width of my fabric all the way up here is 13 inches. So the next thing you're going to do after that is to cut another fabric that is wider than that by 1.5. That's for the back. So you see I have 2 pieces of this and 2 pieces of this. So that's how that's why I divide it by 4 inches. So the next thing is the length. So the length depends on you. For me, I want it to be about 38 or 37.5. So whichever length you do. So guys, whatever length you decide to work with, you're going to add 1.5 to it. For me, I want mine to be about 38 or 37.5. So what I have here is about 39.5 of length here. So the next thing, so now that we've determined the size that we're working with, so now we'll start shaping the dress. So the first thing you're going to do is to go over to the side that is going to be your shoulder, and you're going to mark your shoulder measurement. So for me, I'm working with 8 here. I'm working with 16 divided by 2, that's 8. So I'm going to come down, mark my armhole. The armhole I'm working with is 20 divided by 2, that's 10. So I'm going to mark it and connect it up here, right? And then from my shoulder, I'm going to mark to my chest line. My chest line is about 10.5, almost the same as my armhole side, armhole length here. So the next thing you're going to mark is, I'm going to mark is my shoulder to waist. That's about 17.5, almost 18. And then the next thing I'm going to check is my hip measurement, my shoulder to hip, which is about 24.5. So guys, you see what I did here? Shoulder to your chest line, that's for me is about 10.5. Shoulder to waist 17.5 and shoulder to hip 24.5. So now we are going to start shaping it. So the first thing you're going to do is go back again to your chest line, which is going to be the bust line. Now you're going to divide your bust measurement. So the bust measurement I'm working with is 42. 42 divided by 4, that's going to be 10.5, right? I'm going to add extra 1 inch as seam allowance to it. So that's what I'm going to do here. I've added extra 1 inch. That's about 11.5, right? That's going to be my chest bust measurement. So the next thing you're going to do is come down to the waist, and as you can see guys, my measurement is starting on my front fabric. You see, this is where my front fabric starts. This here is my zip allowance for the back, but as you can see, to make it easier, I'm cutting my back and my front at the same time. So you see, what you're going to do is just the one you're going to use for your back panel, just add about 1.5 inch to it in width, so that you can be able to put your zip at the back, but you can just cut it all together. So the waist measurement I'm working with is 36 divided by 4, that's 9, plus extra 2 inches. 2 inches because you're going to be adding that to it. So that's going to be about 11, because I said 36 divided by 4, right? So 9 plus extra 2 inches, 1 inch for my darting, 1 inch for seam allowance. So that's about 11 inches on the dot, sorry. So the next thing we're going to do is take back your tape again and then just mark your hip measurement, because remember, it's the hip that you're using, is the hip that was the main measurement when you were folding this. So no need to divide, because you already know that the width was the determining factor for the width of this fabric. So which is my hip 48 divided by 4, 12 plus 1, which is 13, and it's 13 that we use to cut it out. So the next thing you're going to do is from this line of your hip here, you're going to connect it to your waist, and from the line of your waist you're going to connect it to your bust line, you see. And then after that, what you're going to do next is to come down here, because this is going to be a pencil dress, right? You're going to come down at this end of the dress here. Remember, you're going to subtract 1 inch from it, right, at the end here, so it can give you that pencil fitted effect. You don't want it straight, because remember, as your thigh is coming down from your hip, it becomes narrower, so you remove 1 inch down here. And then you're going to also come down from your hip by about 1 inch also. This is so that when you connect this line to this line here, it blends in and it doesn't, because if you direct this 1 inch here down to the hip on the dot, you're going to have like some piece of the fabric popping out from the side. But if you blend it in and just come down by 1 inch, just like you would do for a pencil skirt, it will just blend in slowly, because so that you don't have a sharp point at the 2 sides of the dress. So what you're going to do after that is now to connect this together. So I'm going to connect this all the way, go up. If you have a ruler, that's even better. You're just going to connect it up all to this 1 inch, and then you're going to give it a straight line. You see? So you've connected yours now. I've connected mine, sorry. So the next thing now is we're going to go back to the shoulder, and then I'm going to curve out my armhole here, right? Like your normal curve. And then what you're going to do is come down here for your shoulder slant by 1 inch, and then mark your normal neckline 3 inches by 3. If you want, you can make it 3.2, because remember we're working with a V neckline, but I'm going to make my 3 inches by 3 for now. And then just your normal neckline, come down by 1 inch for the back neckline, mark it here, and then also connect it. So we have the back neckline 3 inches of length for the front, 1 inch for the back neckline here. So I'm going to connect this 1 inch down here to this point, which is your shoulder slant, because your shoulder slant coming down this way. Next thing I'm going to do now is, remember, this is going to be like a pinafore, right? So if you look closely at the picture, you'll find that the sleeve is inside of the shoulder. The sleeve is not placed right at the edge of the shoulder like a normal sleeve, right? It's inside of the shoulder, giving the illusion of like the dress that you're wearing a top inside of the main dress itself. So to get that look, you're going to come in by 1 inch on your shoulder, right? So I'm going to come in 1 inch on my shoulder here. So now the shoulder I have here is about 7 instead of 8 of length here. So you're now going to blend it in, right? You're going to blend it in, take it in all the way from that line and then go in back again. So this is now my new shoulder line. So I'm going to cut this out now. You see my initial one here, this is the main one now. So I'm going to cut it out. So guys, first I'm going to cut out my back neckline, right? And then I'm going to cut my shoulder slant this way. After that, as you can see, I've opened up the back for the zip, right? I opened up the straight line here. I'm going to separate the back from the front. As you can see, this is what it looks like right now. So I'm going to separate the back from the front so I can give the front the V neckline. So now you're going to measure yourself and know how deep you want your V to be. So I want mine to be about 8 inches from this point here, this point on top here. So I'm going to just place my tape. All you have to do is just go on top of your shoulder, on top of your neckline, and then you're going to place your tape and find how deep you want your V to be. So for me, I will make mine, let's say 8.5 is okay for me. So from this line, you're going to connect it to 8.5. So this is where 8.5 is. I'm going to just mark it all the way to this point. So this is now my new neckline. I'm going to cut it out. And after cutting it out, I'm going to show you how to, I'm going to make a separate video later on how to dart your clothes. I'm going to just give a basic bodice of for a pencil dress. But right now, the next thing you're going to do is to just dart your dress. So you're going to dart the front pattern and then you're going to dart the back pattern. So basically, you see these lines that you made here, your bust line, your chest line, your waistline, and your hip line. For the front, what you're going to do is I'm just going to give you how you're going to do it. So you're basically going to measure your nipple to nipple measurement. That's your breast point. So for me, the nipple to nipple measurement I'm working with is 9. 9 divided by 2, that's about 4.5, right? So I'm going to add extra half an inch to it. So that's 5 inches. I'm going to mark 5 inches here, right, on this line, and then come down on my hip line also and mark 5 inches. Go back on my bust line and also mark 5 inches, right? So what you're going to do after marking that is from your bust, you're going to mark half an inch on each side. This is supposed to be done inside of the fabric so that you know where the lines are. So you're going to mark half an inch on each side, right? And then from this half an inch, you're going to angle it. Remember, you're going to stop 2 inches before your hip line. My hip line is 24. That's from your shoulder to hip line is 24. I'm going to stop 2 inches before that. So I'm going to stop somewhere at 22, which is here, 2 inches above. So you're going to narrow your dart. You're going to just narrow it down to this point here. So this is where your dart is going to stop. And then for the bust, is going to stop, my dart from the top is going to stop 1 inch before my chest. So it's going to stop somewhere at maybe 11.5. That's where it's going to stop. So you're also going to angle it all the way the same way. You will not see it because of this pepper here. So basically what you're going to do is you're going to open up your fabric and make sure you maintain this line when you go to your sewing machine. You know this 5 inches mark that you made here, you can just transfer it to the wrong side of your fabric, right? Just mark it down. Find a way to trace it out here. Trace it out at the back of your fabric and make sure you keep your hands straight. Just like you hold your fabric this way and then trace out where 5 inches is on it. Hold it this, press it out this way, and then go in and give your darts whichever way it falls in. So that's how you're going to do it. As you can see, mine has this fabric here. It has this pepper here, so I still have to go and iron it out to be able to sew in that. So the same thing is what you're going to do for the back. The same way for the back, I'm just going to fold the fabric into 2 this way, right? Fold it into 2 this way. And then I'm going to dart the back by, so I'm going to just fold it into 2 this way. And then your dart here is going to go up to maybe about 7 inches up, and 7 inches on your shoulder to 7 inches, and then it's going to stop somewhere between but the same way it stopped at the front at 22. So your dart here is going to start at 7 and then end at 22. That's from your shoulder. So basically you fold it into 2 this way and then this way, and then you're going to go in and just give it a dart wherever it falls in. So that's how you're going to dart it. After darting it, you're going to just join your shoulders together. So that's what I'm going to do and come back. Guys, the next thing you're going to do is to fold after putting your dart, you join the sleeve on the 2 sides. As you can see, this is my sleeve joined together. What you're going to do is to join your dress together. So you see, I turned the back neckline, so this is the back neckline, this is the front neckline. Just put it together like you're going to fold it into 2. You see my 2 sleeves are together. You see how I just folded it just to cover out my neckline. So what you're going to do is to get a piece of paper that is big enough, right, and then spread it out and trace out. This is the trick to tracing out your neckline, any type of neckline. You just have to like open up this neckline that you have here, and then you're going to try to trace out the neckline. So you see what I'm doing here. I'm going to trace mine out now, right? And then after tracing it out, remember this is the center part here, right? The center of your front neckline. You're going to come down because this center part is a straight line. You're going to come down maybe about 1 inch. You're going to come down here 1 inch. So I'm going to go back again and draw it so you guys can see. You see, go back in, draw everything out so it's visible. And then I'm going to also mark my back neckline. So all these straight parts, you're going to make sure that you draw it out. So you see my back the back part where the zip is going to be, I made sure to draw it out. And then the front part where is the center neckline, I make sure to draw it out too. So now that I've drawn everything out, I'm going to go ahead and take this out here. So you see what we have here. This is my front, and then this is the back. So what we are going to do now is from this front part here, I'm going to take my tape. So I'm going to take my tape and start marking about, starting from this side here, I'm going to start marking about 2 inches all the way, right? So you're going to mark 2 inches all the way. This is what I'm going to do here. Remember, coming to the back, if you want your back to go down straight, like if you want, like if you're doing like a Peter Pan collar for the back, you want it all the way like a semicircle all the way, fine. But if you want, coming to the back here, instead of going 2 inches or 3 inches, 2 inches like you're doing all the way, what you can do here is add, maybe make the back 3 inches, right? And then you're going to blend it in. You see, now the back is done. Another thing you can do here, okay, so we're still on the 2 inches, so you're going to keep marking your 2 inches all the way in, right? You're going to keep marking it. So the distance from here to here, so that's what you're doing, 2 inches all the way, 2 inches. You're going to keep marking it here. And then getting to the front, you see this line that I made here. If you look closely at the picture, you will find that the neckline, it's like it goes this way. It goes one and then this way. So this is what it looks like. It goes this way on 2 sides of the neck, right? And then goes this way. So what you're going to do, after coming down by about 1 inch here or 1.5, what you're going to do from this distance here now is to move your hand in, right? Move your hand inwards this way. You're not going to keep it straight, because if you keep it straight, then you have a collar that looks like this. The two of them will be facing each other, facing down. But if you go in this way, then your collar will move apart. The two of them will go separate ways. It will not be facing straight. So now here, you're going to just go in this way. Maybe curve it. So if you move your hand straight, it will look something like this. So if your hand is straight, it will go down here. Maybe if you check where your hand is supposed to be, then maybe go in about 3 inches from there, or 2.5 inches. And then maybe somewhere here, 2.5 at this point here. So you're going to angle your neckline up to this line here, right? 2.5 away from the center. And then from there, you're going to bring down this line here. You just have to bring out all your expertise in drawing and just make it work for you anyhow you feel fit, you see, and then go down this to this angle. It also depends on you, on the length you want to work with here. As you can see, I have about 5 inches length here, so you just have to bring out all your artistry here. So just keep on doing it, and then when you feel like everything is okay, you see, if I was trying to make a Peter Pan collar, all I have to do is just come down here and curve it in the same 2 inches all the way around. But this is a different type of collar, so you see, you angle it. So what you're going to do now is to go back in again and take about 1/2 inch. So now you're drawing in your seam allowance. You see, you're going to draw in your seam allowance, draw it in all the way, all the way, all the way. You see, your 1/2 inch seam allowance. I'm just eyeballing it here. So after that, you're also going to draw it in on this side. You see, you're going to draw it on this side, and then here too, because remember, you're going to be cutting 2 pieces of this here, 2 pieces of this here, and then you're going to trace it. Or if you won't be cutting out 2 pieces of this, then there is no need to give it 1/2 inch here, because the 1/2 inch I'm giving it here is to join. Let's say you have 1 piece of this, you're going to get another piece of it and join it together with that 1/2 inch at the center. But if you know that you're going to be cutting it at the edge of a folded fabric, like this part here is going to be at the edge of a folded fabric when you're cutting it, then there will be no need to add 1/2 inch at the center. But for me, I'm going to be cutting it at the edge of a fabric this way, and I'm going to be using 2 of it. So after that, you're going to add 1/2 inch all the way around and connect it together. So you see, come down straight again. So now I'm going to cut this out. You see, the same goes for my back neckline, join. You see, I'm not going to be adding any 1/2 inch here, because this here is going to be this is going to be my neckline. And remember, I also added my zip allowance as I was doing it, so I traced all the way even into my zip allowance. So I'm going to cut this out now. So guys, this is what I'm working with. As you can see, I've gone ahead and cut this out, right? So you see, I'm going to place it here, and I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this here. So I'm going to use this, and as you can see here, my paper wasn't enough. So when I get to this point, I'm going to angle it here, because that's why it doesn't have that pointy end. But when I pin this paper down now, I'm going to angle the end here. So I'm going to cut 2 pieces of this here. If you're working with a folded fabric, by folded I mean for fabric that is enough and folded this way, all you have to do is take this middle part here. So that means you're not going to be adding half an inch here, because since I'm working with a single fabric, I'm going to cut 2 of these, come here, and then use that half an inch that I have at the center neckline here, this 1 inch here, to join the 2 of them together. But since you're working with a folded fabric and you have enough, just forget this half an inch here, fold it in, and then you know that all you have is